close enough to the dawn for us to have confidence that we will improve, if that makes sense.
You know what, Freddie? I hear what you're saying, and I hear the analogy that you're trying to give, with the money ball situation. But I'm gonna give you one what I think it is. The honeymoon is over. That's where we're at right now. This is to the point where you have to make or break, this team, like where you have to excel. When you are hit with adversity, you have to figure out what to do. And while I say the honeymoon is over, I really believe in film. I think the reason why like film is real big in the NFL. I think there's so much film on Flores' defense. There's so much film on Kevin O'Connell's offense to where they haven't adjusted the right way to kind of go in and smash teams. And they're not surprising guys with this movement at the line or this disguise of this front or whatever. And it's not there anymore. So it's like the honeymoon is completely over. This is people call it nut cutting time. This is nut cutting time. You get what I'm saying? Like this is when this is when good coaches are built right now, right? Like good coaches are built within this adversity right now. Or when your team is getting smacked in the mouth, it's like, what do you do next? Like if you look at all the great coaches in the history of the NFL, they've always had points in their career to where they had a shit team was bad, they figured some stuff out, and then they moved on. You get what I'm saying? Like Andy Reid is probably one of my favorite coaches out there. Like he couldn't get over the hump in Philadelphia. He couldn't. Even when they went to the Super Bowl, they lost. The greatest quarterback of all time. So then he goes to Kansas City, and they figure some things out. And we can always say like, oh, he got Pat Mahomes. Yeah, Pat Mahomes is part of it, but Andy Reid's process and him, learning from his mistakes that he had in Philadelphia pretty much created that atmosphere of what they have in Kansas City. You get what I'm saying? Because if he didn't learn what he needed to learn in Philadelphia, he wouldn't have, been able to create this, this dynasty in Kansas City. Like I'm not saying that he would have got any quarterback to come out there and did it, but if you think about it, they were winning playoff games with Alex Smith.
You also noticed that with Alex Smith, he couldn't win to the top. It wasn't until he saw what he had in Pat Mahomes that made him go, okay, now I can actually take it.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like he was able to adjust, like, and if you want to talk about like, I know Philly has been my example right now, but look at Howie Roseman, right? For example, they win a Super Bowl with Doug Peterson. They win with him. And Doug seems to end up losing the locker room for whatever reason. He has the benefit of saying, you know what, this ain't working. I still got Jalen Hurts. I still got these guys that I can still have pillars of this team to build around. The defense still is good. I need to make a change. And look what happened. They end up going to the Super Bowl 2 times and winning one. Like, I'm not saying our Vikings can't do it, but I'm saying like this is the time where we're going to see how good Kevin O'Connell actually is.
Absolutely.
And that's what's going to keep me watching, because I know some people out there be like, they ain't winning no games, they ain't going to the playoffs. Why should I watch? I want to see how Kevin O'Connell fight. I want to see how they fight, bro. I really do, because I was telling Mike Sports Vibes this earlier this morning, man, and I'm gonna share this with you, and I want to know how you feel about it. Okay. So, I was 5 rows away from the bench last night. We were close, and the body language on the sideline was not great.
I remember when you texted that during the game. Yep,
it was not great, and I don't know if it was other content creators there or other people that were actually was keen on that, but I saw the fact of the matter, like these players don't mess with these coaches like that. Like when the offense came off the field, you know how they would be like slap hands with the coach or whatever. It was like last year. Yeah, they were like beeline.
Last year was different. Yeah,
they were like beeline to the seats. Like I seen Kevin O'Connell be on the island like so many times, just standing there like trying to figure some things out. I see Brian Flores like not like he engaged with his defense, but he wasn't really like, like he wasn't the force. And yeah, I think the locker room is lost for a lot of different reasons. Like I think the locker room is lost, bro, because it's the process that's not working. You get what I'm saying? Like it's the way they're going about things that's pretty much the locker room as splits. And these are a couple of things why I feel like a locker room is not there. So I'm glad you brought up Moneyball. I'm glad you did. You be cooking sometimes, bro. For real, right? Because think about this, man. Cam Bynum's not here anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't have paid Cam Bynum to stay. Am I saying by paying Cam Bynum to stay is because he was a leader on defense, right? He was a guy that kind of riled the soldiers up to go out there to battle, right? Another guy, a captain, you don't have anymore. Harrison Phillips. He was a guy that kind of routed up the linebackers and the defensive line, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have.
And he had the run stopping skill set that we need.
like I'm just saying, bro. It's like sometimes you can't lose people on the team that bring that ability to your roster. Like, and sometimes the intangibles outweigh. Like I'm a big Zimmer guy. Everybody knows that, but the heartbeat of that defense was like it was Everson Griffin. It was Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr. Like they were the heartbeat. Yeah, I believe it now, and I just feel like there's a lot of mistakes this team has made, man, and now they're like it's just coming to bite them. And I think like with that being gone, like the pillars of this team being gone, on the sideline, then I think Kevin O'Connell is in a bad place with the team because the way he's handling injuries. And while I'm saying
it's boiling over now
in this, and I feel like this though, bro. It's he wants to wait until McCarthy is 100% to play.
You know why that is though, right?
What?
There's a famous quote of his. So he said that he believes that teams fail young quarterbacks or rookie quarterbacks, not the other way around.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
I get why he wants to wait till he's 100% so that there is no excuse that anybody can take that the Vikings let him down, or if they would have, done this or that, then he wouldn't have had a chance, right? So I understand that, but at the same time, to go back to freaking fundamentals. Like you don't need to go crazy.
That phrase is cute, but that's not why he's like he's lost the locker room. He's lost the locker room.
No, but that's what I mean. Like why he's keeping JJ from starting.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying with him. He's rushed other players back from injury that has gotten worse. So you don't think other guys see that? Christian Darrisaw should have not been playing so early within this season. They rushed him back. You had Brian O'Neill get rushed back last week to where he can't play, right? So if you're a player on that roster, you're telling me that outside of the quarterback, everybody else has to get rushed back, but you're going to be extremely patient with the quarterback. You have to keep it even across the board. You get what I'm saying? Because look at what we're dealing with now. Christian Darrisaw does not look good. He does not look good at all. He basically limped in halftime all the way back, there. And then he came back in street clothes. Brian O'Neill did not play today. Well, did not play last night, right? But I'm not going to say he's babying McCarthy, but you're giving McCarthy everything he needs to get ready so he can excel. You have to do the same thing for your linemen. You have to do the same thing for everybody else. That's why the locker room is split. You get what I'm saying? Like Absolutely. It's split that way. And then we see Carson Wentz is not healthy, right? We're seeing McCarthy. We're seeing Wentz isn't healthy, right? Every play he comes out, he's wincing, he's grabbing something. Like he's showing he's physically and maybe mentally hurt, but you keep trotting him out there. Players see that. So if you're telling them, hey, we got to go out there and fight, and you're like, bro,
why are you starting Carson? I think also there's
you abusing guys, man. Like what? I can't get behind you right now. You get what I'm saying? And then you got Golden Boy over here, you know, who
gets all the extra time in the world when we don't get that. I understand 1,000%.
Locker room split.
Hello. But yes, no, definitely. I definitely co-sign on a lot of that. And I think that we're on the precipice, like you said. Now, Andy Reid had the benefit of being able to build the start building the dynasty until like year 19 or year 20, right?
Yeah.
So he had a lot of time, a lot of leeway from the Eagles, and then with the Chiefs, right? That's something that KOC doesn't have the luxury of. Let's be real. He's not going to get 10 years from this team to figure it out. You know what I mean? To be like, oh, it's a possibility. Maybe they love him that much because the whole reporting in KOC we trust, regardless, he can do no wrong sort of thing. Maybe he might get a 10-year shot at it. I don't know. Maybe he goes the way of Danny Green and gets a long tenure with us, right? But to go along with what you said, Andy Reid had the benefit of over a long period of time making a ton of mistakes and then adjusting so that when he got to Kansas City, he was able to take those lessons and run with them, right?
Right.
Now, we're basically the way that I see it is that we're at a fork in the road, essentially. Right now, KOC has had, like, if we look at the fourth season this is the fourth season, but like what he's done so far, he has basically speed run what a lot of coaches experience in 5, 7, maybe even 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So what happened in 2020 in his first year, right? With the no defense, basically his version of the 98 team. Let's be real. It's the poor man's 98 team, right? Where we had all offense, no defense, right? And then we got destroyed in the playoffs. So that's one massive lesson that a lot of coaches don't get to learn in year one, right? And then everything that happened in that season, all the close games, all the drives that he messed up with trying to be too cute and trying to force trick plays or creative plays, whatever, high IQ plays, whatever you want to say. But we saw a ton of those in year one.
So he's still doing that now, though.
But at so much less than he did in year one. You got to admit, like, he does still try to force them here, but every once in a while, he gets it right. I'm thinking of the Oliver pass from Cam Akers, right? So it caught me off guard. You know, I seen the wild card. I was like, oh my God, he's doing this on first down. He's just trying to find a cheeky way to get like 1 or 2, 3 yards. So then the second down, he can, try to get it by third down, like a 3rd and 3 or something like that. Something super easy. So then he can open up the whole play. So I'm thinking, oh, KOC, what are you freaking doing? And then he caught me off guard, right? So it's like, so there's evidence that he is learning from the mistakes that he's made. And then last year culminates with almost every single game we had situations happen that happen in the playoffs, right? You shit the bed. Like, I'm thinking of the Jacksonville game, remember? Where we started and it was an ugly first half. Turnovers, penalties. We basically, like, we've seen that in the playoffs where a team comes out, the Patriots in the Super Bowl, right? 3 points or 6 points to their 24, 26 or whatever it was, right? And they had to face that adversity and find a way to win in the second half and then pull it off. We did that last year, right? Every single game. There was games where we started super strong. We got multiple turnovers. We looked like a juggernaut. And then the second half, we just couldn't figure it out how to like stop them from scoring, right? This year, we're seeing the opposite. We're a second half team, right? So there's all these different lessons that were learned essentially in a year that most teams experience in the playoffs 4, 5, 6 years in a row, right?
Early.
So that's why I say he's kind of like speed run a lot of lessons, right, in a short period of time. Which brings me to that what you said with Andy Reid, where he had the luxury to experience those and then learn from them and then adapt them when he got his his perfect situation, right? So like to go back to where I feel like we're at a crossroads. So I feel why have confidence that going forward it's going to go in the right trajectory is because of all those learning experiences and because of the growth that we've seen, right?
Good,
But
man.
we're at a crossroads where if he doesn't learn and then actually translate into putting it into a practice, we're going to go down the opposite side, because the opposite side is you crumble, you learn nothing, and you flame out, right? So that's where he is right now, right? So like everything, up until this game, we've shown a ton of fight. We've kept games close into the point where we can try to win. So that's a sign for me that last year, everything that we went through, we have learned and moved forward to this year. We're not completing comebacks, it's fine, right? But we're at the point now where we look this bad, and like I said, it's the darkest part before the dawn. So he's either going to show that we got another year or two of darkness of like having to move on or whatever, restructure, rebuild, commit to something, a completely different plan that we have now, or he's going to show in the rest of the season that he has learned and he's going to actually take the adversity, get the punch in the face, and instead of panicking and looking like a deer in headlights, start putting things together for the rest of the season so it shows that he is back on the right trajectory. I don't know what it is, honestly.
You remember we had that talk about Pokemon? I know everybody out there like these old dudes talking about Pokemon. All right. You remember you had to talk about Pokemon and Pikachu, and
not evolving, but
and someone forcing it, with the stone to evolve the Pikachu early, and the Pikachu doesn't really understand all the benefits of being Pikachu, the speed, everything like that, and then he becomes Raichu and he can't really he becomes Raichu too early.
Mm-hmm. It could be. It could be, but also too, remember how I said Pikachu was the only guy that could not evolve, stay in the vision that he saw, because he knows that that's going to be better than even the evolved version of himself.
We don't.
That's what I'm saying. This is a great dichotomy. That's a great example because it basically just explains what we were saying, right?
Yeah.
It could either be darkness for the next 2 years based on what's happened so far, and he's just going to crumble, and the expectations that we're hoping him to meet someday are not going to happen. And he's just going to he's going to go back and be an OC somewhere or whatever before he gets another chance, go through that whole roster thing that coaches go through, or he's going to realize that, no, I am the Pikachu that freaking I have to stay this because my vision is that right. And I'm just going to keep pushing forward. And then the lessons that I've learned push him to the stage where we're like, whoa, what the hell? He actually knew what he was thinking. Maybe he had something here, right? Like, because and to go back to Moneyball, right?
Yeah.
When they fielded that team together, everybody was like, what the frick? And now fast forward, every single team has adopted those philosophies one way or another. Right. So are we in the stage of we're just trying something new that's just bound to fail? Or are we in the beginnings of witnessing something that has never been done before, that after the right amount of time and adversity faced or whatever, we get something that, like, from going forward, people are trying to copy us or have some sort of variation of the things that we're doing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I can't say for sure one way or another.
I just think
it's difficult to put my hat on one.
It's difficult to predict the future, but you always have to look at what examples you have, from the past of going forward. I have a hard time believing in Kevin O'Connell going forward. And my thing about believing in O'Connell going forward is the development of this roster is not great. And I don't normally like to compare teams, but there are 31 examples of NFL teams, outside of ours that, deal with the same thing. And I think Mekhi Beckman for the Chargers, I think he went down like the first quarter of the game, didn't come back, right?
I thought that was gonna even things out and make it like, okay, now we might have a 50-50 again.
They just kept rolling. It didn't even they just next guy up mentality. And it's like I'm questioning leadership on this coaching staff because you have a lot of bad beats that are really biting you right now to the point to where I don't think you can't escape it. And when I'm saying like you can't escape it, it's like you've done things to this roster to where win or lose, you have to stick with it. There's nothing you can do. You know, there's nothing you can do to fix it. Like you
can't just come up with a new philosophy and run with it now. It's just too late. You're pot committed. You have no idea if that freaking jack is coming on the river or not. But we just saw the flop. You know what I mean? So we still got the turn. We still got the river. So like we just have to see what happens.
You all in.
We're all in.
I was saying like this earlier, and I was just like, I just think, excuse me. I think the ego on this coaching staff is killing this team. You have one guy in Kevin O'Connell to where he's been propped up for the past couple of seasons as being this quarterback whisperer, a guy that's great with quarterbacks. That's cool. That's cute. But you need to win with this guy. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is the guy you got to do it with. Now is nut cutting time, but you actually developing the guy. And it's unfortunate that McCarthy got hurt because it happens. Then you got another guy on the defense is like, well, my defensive scheme is going to confuse everybody and we're going to be great. It's too much ego that's being led on this team. And that's going to it's ego in the draft. It's making the draft picks, whatever. And it's like, I just keep going back to the development. And I just believe in like, it's going to be a hard fix. It might be just like you said, it might be a dark couple of seasons if they don't get it right. But in how I look at it, they're kind of like lined up to not be able to fix this on a quick fix. And I said this thing, man, last night, and I forgot who I told it to, bro. I miss Kirk Cousins, and it's not that I miss Kirk. It's not
the ability that he brought to the position. No, this is what I kept saying.
No, I'm not even talking about him as the player. Freddie, I look at stuff differently, right? That's why my podcast is called Scroll State of Mind, because I'm always looking at stuff different. Kirk Cousins kept them from making stupid mistakes in free agency because his contract was so big to where you could not move it and you couldn't sign guys so much. You always had to sign guys that were for short-term deals. And it seems like the first moment they got rid of Kirk Cousins and they got rid of the big contract and they got this crazy money, they just say, they didn't know what to do with it. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying.
That's a really good point. Absolutely. Yeah, I never thought. For me, it was like, that's actually a really damn good point.
I'm not going to talk about his play because we know what Kirk is. But when Kirk had that 45 million cap hit, 30 million cap hit, you knew you had to be more strategic in the offseason. You knew that you had to hit
most of what you got and with what you could go and shop with.
When you got more money to play with, you're liable to take more risk with the money because you feel like you got more money on the back end you can play with. I miss Kirk Cousins' contract because I just feel like, think about it though, Mike.
It's interesting. Very interesting. I never thought about it like that.
And if people out there is like, here we go, want to bring Kirk back. No, listen to what I'm saying. I'm talking about the contract. The contract was so big to where you had to go out there and you could
creative, select, take run swings with everything.
Home run swings, and look at what they did. They didn't have to sign Allen and Hargrave. They could have just signed one, but they signed both. They didn't have to go out there and sign Fries and Kelly. They signed both. You get what I'm saying? Like, you didn't have to go out there and, give Josh Mattel his money and sign Murphy. You could have just signed Murphy and kept buying him. You get what I'm saying? Like that
absolutely. It's a different factor of team building and
exactly.
But to play devil's advocate though, if they don't make these mistakes, right? How would they learn to draft better? How would they learn to spend cap space better without these mistakes?
I just think like
sometimes this is where it comes back to like where the things that we're going through might be exactly what we need for us to evolve into the right version of ourselves, or not evolve into whatever analogy you want to take. But you know what I'm saying? But like to become the team that we need to be because of what we've experienced. Like I keep saying, like, I love the way this team fights, even though we didn't see it last night. Even though there at times we did fight. At times we did fight. Let's be real. We did come up with some stops, but we were flat when it came to our normal level of fighting. But I feel like that's all a byproduct of what we experienced last year. You know what I mean? So maybe the lessons that we have to learn and the experiences, the mistakes that we've made as a result are what's going to push us to become the team that we need to be, or it's going to make us go the complete opposite way, and then in the off season we're rebuilding, or next off season we're rebuilding, right? I can't tell, but I think the confidence, because you said that you're pot committed. You're in this state of mind where it's like you're pot committed. You want to see how this turns out regardless, because you need to see one way or another and make a real assessment of it, right? Me, I gain my confidence because of the team looks more or less what I anticipated it to be. So I'm not upset that we have really low lows, because I expected lows. But at the same time, the other aspect of where I get confidence from is that we don't have a full sample size to freaking really judge what we are right now.
Right.
Like, when I went back, I was like, man, how, like, because last night I was kind of like a little bit pressed, because I was like, did I really have too much of a bad read, or did I throw too much optimism into my assessments like I did last year? So I started second guessing myself, right? So I went back and I pulled up all my research notes and stuff like that. And there was a moment where I was like, oh, okay, week 7 through 9, I thought was going to be like the turmoil, like putting it together, and then from then on, the last few games would be the closest to as consistent as we can imagine this team to be. So I was like, so maybe I'm not too far off, but also I didn't predict the injuries, so that also throws a wrench in my preseason analysis a little bit too, right? So, but what I'm trying to say is that from 7, 8, 9, I expected us to start making the steps necessary to become consistent, to start looking like the team that I expected. And I said, basically, I circled last third, right? So I can't remember why I circled last third. Maybe so because like, you know how it is to make content, right? You're constantly researching, watching videos, and it just becomes a flood of stuff. So I can't really remember, but I want to believe that the reason that I put last third was that the last third of the season is going to tell me what I need to know, or the last third of the season is where we're going to look like I expect us to start next year. So I can't really tell for sure, because that was my assessment and then my analysis going into the season, right? So and then I go, oh, maybe we are on the pace that I anticipated. I don't know. I didn't, like I said, before the season started, I said this is going to be a roller coaster. The early part of the season is going to be a lot of ups and downs. It's going to look at times amazing, and at times it's going to look like we should just give up. You know what I mean? And it hasn't been more true after this week than I thought. You know what I mean? But mind you, in my defense, I just thought it was going to be situations where JJ was going to be too overwhelmed, or he's going to throw too many picks or fumble the ball. And because of those growing pains from him, it would just be too much to overcome and win. But
then you would have accepted that, because you knew he was developing, and in the next year he would have been better.
That's why it kind of hits a little harder and it hurts a little bit more, because we don't have that. We don't have that excuse or that comfort to be like, a rookie's allowed to make those mistakes. You know what I mean?
Because we always like I would say a part of the fan base is always in win now mode. And I believe like you, and this is like, I'm a big basketball guy, so you can't always be in win now mode. That's why I hate LeBron James so much, because he eroded my team to where they have no development stages and they're always doing things just to win now. And you can't build longevity like that. You can't always be, oh, we got to win now, because you're mortgaging your future just to try to stay competitive, and you can't do that. And I just think this team has become, I'm not saying it's the same thing like my Lakers, but they have become so like, oh, we got to win now. Yeah, you get what I'm saying? Like, and they're like forcing the issue to where like they're not doing things the right way. And if we talk about quarterbacks, man, and I'm gonna go back to Kirk. Excuse me. I think Kirk is the fork in the road with this team, and I think they botched it. I think they really botched it, and it's not the signing of Kirk Cousins. We all knew Kirk was going to leave. It's the negligence. It's the negligence, and I'm gonna say negligence. It's the negligence combined with Kevin O'Connell's ego by not solidifying the backup quarterback when they had the chance to. You could have signed Sam Darnold to a longer deal than what you signed him for when he was available that offseason. Sam Darnold signed here for $10 million, and basically it was five plus flies, 10 million, I mean $5 million on the books, and then void year for the next year, right? You shouldn't have made it in your best interest to maybe give him more money and solidify him as the backup for the future and still draft the guy. And even if Sam didn't want to do that, that's fine. That's his prerogative. He wanted to try to figure things out. But if you look at that offseason, there was no guarantee that Sam was going to actually be the quarterback starting the team last year. It was talk that J.J. McCarthy would have been the he was supposed to be over, but then he got hurt. He got hurt, and then Sam had this a great year. So human nature would be for Sam to leave and take the best money possible, because he never knows he's going to be a starting quarterback on his league again, or is going to be offered that type of money. I get that. So you botched that one.
But with him though, he wasn't available during the last part of for us to actually sign for multiple years at a cheap rate, because he was signed to the 49ers.
No, he was an outright free agent.
He was in the summer that we moved on from Kirk though. But what I'm saying, but I thought, okay, maybe I misunderstood. I thought you meant that before we moved on from Kirk, that we should have signed him for like 3 years, or trade and sign him or something. That's what I was saying.
What I'm saying is this though, right? I'm gonna back it up so you can understand it. So we knew Kirk was gonna leave, right? Kirk is the fork in the road. Kirk leaves, right? Sam Darnold comes available because his contract is up with San Francisco, right? He's a basically quote unquote, unprotected free agent, right? Instead of you giving him 1 year, you shouldn't have gave him 2. You get what I'm saying? You should have gave him 2 before he actually stepped foot on the field. You get what I'm saying? Because if you would have gave him 2 years, you knew you was going to draft a quarterback. You knew at the end of the day you was going to draft a quarterback. We just didn't know what it was going to be at the time. We didn't know if it was going to be McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, whatever. But you could have solidified.
True. On your not him, somebody else that was willing, because remember, the negotiations came out with Sam, and his freaking selling point was, we're going to make you the next Baker Mayfield.
Right.
So that he was ready. The reason he was basically ready to only sign for 1 year with someone, because he felt ready to kind of show that he had fixed himself enough, right? So maybe we could have gone with, I don't know who was available.
I'm not buying that though. I'm not buying that, because the thing about it is though, if you go back to that offseason, Sam had a possibility of not playing if JJ McCarthy got hurt. You get what I'm saying? So if Sam doesn't even get on the field to actually play, he's never going to have that 14-win season. You get what I'm saying? Like you can't say he's going to be the next Baker Mayfield, if he does not play. You get what If McCarthy,
no, I get what you're saying. See, I don't know because they never give the details. They just show that that was kind of like a selling point for them. They don't really go. It's hard to say unless you're in the negotiation what they actually meant by that.
I just think people make things up that don't really fit the facts. I think Sam came here on a small deal, 1-year deal, with the hope of actually playing. Sam knew they were going to draft a quarterback, so we can get Sam out of here, right? So that happened. Then Daniel Jones gets cut. You bring him in on the practice squad, and then eventually you put him on the active roster for whatever games, right? You shouldn't have when you got Daniel Jones off of waivers, you shouldn't have signed him for 2 seasons. You shouldn't have signed him for the season that we were already in last year and for the next season, to where you don't even have to go into negotiations with another backup quarterback next year. Now, this is after you drafted McCarthy, right? This is after you drafted McCarthy. And I can understand, people being like, oh, yeah, but he wanted to option to go somewhere else. That wasn't even on the table at that point because you waited to the offseason. That's when all these other jobs became available. You get what I'm saying? Like you take care of it now, and then if shit comes available, and then you're like, oh, maybe we got to trade him because he doesn't want to be here. That's something different. But these guys kind of played themselves in the point of being, it's like they had no backup on the roster.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that I've always had with Carson Wentz. And
with that being said, is that the reason why they're not playing Brosmer? Because they don't want him to be injured the rest of the season, and they actually want to develop into a long-term QB2?
I think
maybe that's a lesson learned from that mistake.
Yeah. Yes, I think it's lesson learned because now Brosmer is going to be on the roster for a long time. So you have a backup guy who knows the system going forward, but they played themselves to the point of being like
at the time. Absolutely. No, I'm 1,000% on board with that take for sure.
If you remember, I remember 2017, right after the debacle against the Eagles and then the Vikings went into a situation where they basically had no quarterback on the roster. Teddy Bridgewater was going to be a free agent. We knew Sam Bradford knees could not hold up, and we all knew that Case Keenum was just a backup that was riding on a high year. You get what I'm saying? Like they had nobody on the roster, so the best bet that they could do was sign Kirk. You get what I'm saying? They were right there again last season, and they just kind of botched it, man. Like I just think that's it. They were botched it by ego. Because Kevin O'Connell's this quarterback whisperer, and you can, he has all these examples of making this and making that. It's just like, it's just been botched. It's like, bro, think about it like this though, man. Like, if Kevin O'Connell did so well with Josh Dobbs, why he didn't resign here? Right? Why he didn't resign here? How come Mullins is a backup? He's a straight up, he's a career backup. Why did he leave?
I think also that plays a factor that they don't mirror JJ McCarthy, right? Because if you have a backup that doesn't mirror your starter, you have to have a completely different game plan if he has to play, right? But if you have a guy that has the same skill set, you don't have to change the plays. You don't have to. They just have to both know exactly what to do because they have the same skill set, right?
I get that.
So that's why I think Brosmer was drafted, because he looks to me like.
Or signed because he was undrafted free agent.
Oh yeah, like signed, but like that's why they signed him, because he mirrors JJ, similar style of game. He's the dual threat that can throw the ball, and so like when he has to step in, like the whole offense is gonna be like, oh crap, what do we do with him here? It's like, no, we're just gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do the exact same thing. We might lean on to more of his strengths instead of what we expect from JJ, but it's essentially the same thing, the same play calls, the same theory, the same strategy, right?
Right.
So that's why I think those guys didn't really fit the mold for what we needed for a backup. Now, to go back to how we were talking about how this team, and like your analogy with the Lakers, where there's teams out there, we know them in every sport. There's a team out there that always mortgages their future to try to win now in hopes that they can steal one, right? The Rams a couple of years ago, you know what I mean?
Steal one.
But exactly, because they're just so desperate for the Super Bowl, right? Or the title or the pennant, whatever the world's, whatever it is, right?
Whatever they're fighting
And then
for,
when you look at the Minnesota Vikings, we've been making that mistake, but we've tried the way that I looked at it is like we've been trying every which way to get a Super Bowl. We've we built up, we had the longest stretch of like peak or whatever was the original Purple People Eaters, right? We were dominant for a decade then,
right?
Or maybe 11 or 12 years, right? And
Or
then ever since then, we've tried to bring in the wily veteran quarterback that's proven to win on a team that's in the win now situation in 09 with Brett Favre. Or was it 09 or 11? 09. Yeah, because that was the first full year that I watched. But anyways, so we tried that. So we mortgaged the future to bring in a veteran that was supposed to bring it home, right? And it didn't work. And then we go to, well, maybe we just need to sign a younger quarterback that has all the intangibles, but other teams have given up on. So we got the freaking Sam Bradford era, Matt Castle era, right? And then we go, okay, no, we really need to commit to a full rebuild and do it the long way. So let's draft as high of a quarterback as we can that has that potential to potentially become that team in the future. We draft Teddy Bridgewater, and then he snaps his knee. You know what I mean? Like, so then we get put back into the sense of like then the Case Keenum thing, and then all of a sudden we tried different ways to win. And it just keeps coming up close where we're mortgaging the future, right? And then they decide to go, let's bring in Kirk. Let's try to make the best out of what we have because we have a generational receiver. We have some stuff that we might be able to steal one, and he's got that. He's the guy, maybe the game that he needs to win in prime time or in the playoffs to erase that history that he had. Maybe it'll come with us, and maybe we'll steal one. And it didn't happen, right? And then when I look at this, look at everything, I go, wait a second. They bring in Cam, they bring in KOC, they look to draft a top tier quarterback. To me, it was like, whoa, are we finally trying the long-term strategy where we do all the things that we need to do to over 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it takes? Like, because every team is different, right? Like some teams click really quickly and they can build a dynasty, like, or not a dynasty, but build a championship caliber team and then try to go for it, right?
Right.
But we've been kind of snake bitten. You know what I mean? We've had bad situations happen where we bring KOC in and we try to get this thing. JJ McCarthy gets injured. Freaking the O line has been atrocious. Just injuries after injuries at the O line,
bro.
Pardon?
That's on Kevin O'Connell. This is my theory.
What I'm saying is, what I'm trying to build a picture, right? So with all that being said, how maybe this is their attempt of trying to learn how not to freaking mortgage the future to try to win now.
Right.
And it's just not going right. And because they've never committed to this, they're making the mistakes that they are, right? And now we start seeing, like, now that, like, I never even really thought about it until you made that point about how we've never committed to bringing in a good backup. Now I go, wait, Max Brosmer might be that chance of them trying to learn from that mistake.
Yeah.
Right. So they are trying to learn, but it's like when you don't know what you don't know, it's going to look extremely bad, right? So that's why I say it brings me back to the analogy of the crossroads, right? We're at a state where if we make the right decisions, we might veer down the way where we actually develop and build. We learn from our mistakes and build that team that we want to be. And it's not going to be on the timeline that we want it to be as fans, or it's going to fall apart and we're going to have to rebuild, move on, bring somebody new in, whatever it is, change the culture, change the GM, whatever it is, right? That's why, like, but then I go back to where because of my marketing background, right? Market research, it's like freaking the sample size is still too small to be able to know what this team truly is. Because let's say let's play devil's advocate for both, right? Let's say we look this bad the rest of the season, right? The sample size at the very end is going to tell us exactly what is wrong with this team, because we have a full 16 games to go. This is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. And right now we can point to things, but by the end of the season, we might have completely different problems that are the actual issue, right? Like the truth will show in a full sample size is what I'm trying to say.
So what do you think the biggest problem with this team?
Well, 1 second. I'll answer that in a second. Or then we could have the whole opposite thing, like maybe like the absolute worst case, we look like garbage and we have to rebuild at the end of the year, fire everybody, right? Or as the season goes on, things start to click, things start to actually work out that they imagine, and some of the lessons that we're griping about, they actually learn from them, and actually the rest of the season proves that they are learning from them and working towards the right way. And then we end up with a second half of the season where we're like, oh crap, maybe we did overreact, right? So there's no right now for me, it's like there's no telling one way or another, because it's just not enough data to actually get some actual valuable information from yet. Because what happened, like the thing is that what happens if we lose 3 in a row and then we win out? Who was right? Are we freaking garbage because the next 3 games we look terrible, or the final games of the season because we won out? That's who we are, right? So like that's what I'm saying, at the end of the season, we'll know. It's like, oh, injuries played a massive factor at the beginning of the season. This is what caused this. And then by the end, we started to put things together. So the problems were our health, this, or we lose out. It looks the worst that it can be. And then we go, this is a problem. The head coach is a problem. The play calling is a problem. The choices at running back's a problem. The offensive line, the health, the rushing players back. Like, we'll be able to actually see what the real problems are, because we're only just seeing like mirages of what it could be, and we're running with that, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because I'm looking at it as when I analyze data, right? And when I analyze that, the sample size matters, right? That's why when they put up statistics in the middle of the game, they have to put at the end minimum 12 starts, minimum 25, minimum 4 seasons, or whatever it is, to justify the stat that they're putting up there, right? Because if you don't have the right sample size, Mike White should have been a franchise guy after those first 2 games that he played, right?
Right.
So that's why I'm like, it's so hard to tell. Like it's hard for me to say one way or another, because of that background in my education and in work, to make me go, the Viking fan inside me wants to just lose it and just say blow it up and just rage and rant and freaking just throw shade at everybody. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not immune to that. Okay, just because I try to be as optimistic or realistic as I can, or objective as I can, doesn't mean that internally I don't feel like everybody else does. I just put it to bed for the reasons that I'm saying, right? So I don't know. It's really hard to tell, but I agree with like this is why I think it's really hard to tell, because I agree with literally everything that you said. Yeah. Because I'm like, that's all plausible. I can't say no, that's not it. But then I think of all the other things that I mentioned, and I'm like, but that's also plausible. It's like, what is it? You know what I mean? So this is the thing this is the crossroads that we're at, where, like I said, it's the storm, like the rain is always the hardest before the storm breaks. It's all the night is always the darkest before dawn breaks, right? So what is it? So I'm frustrated as well.
In my opinion, I just really feel that when you do not build the team, when I'm saying team building, you got to have a good combination of young players in development and starters that are playing right now. And I just really think that the Vikings have no development on this roster. And that's what's starting to really really hurt this team, because when you have injuries like they have this season, I mean, it's unfortunate, but you don't have, I'm not saying backups are going to come in and be really beaming. That doesn't happen all the time. But you don't know how to coach for the guys that you currently have to play with, and you don't have any young guys that can take those spots, and be like, okay, cool, we're gonna throw this guy out here. Dang, he's guy can actually really play. He's in the second season. We might have to give him more playing time. We don't have that option on this team. And I remember we had the conversation, right? And you asked me like what was my gripe with Brian Flores. So it took me some time to actually think about it. My biggest gripe with Brian Flores is this: is I believe in bodies, right? And what I'm saying is I believe in bodies is I understand that Lewis Seen was not working. I understand that Makai Blackman wasn't being what Brian Flores wanted. But at the end of the day, they were bodies. You get what I'm saying? They were bodies on cost-effective rookie contracts. You replace those bodies that were cost-effective, that were young guys, and you got expensive fast. And now the guy that you got expensive with, they can't play. I'm not saying that Brian Murphy is not a starting caliber corner, but if you look at this roster, they went into the season with only 4 cornerbacks this year. They had Isaiah Rodgers, Brian Murphy, Dwight McLaughlin, and Jeff Okudah, right? The only guy that was actually young development on that team was the Dwight McLaughlin, and he's not really that good. He was a undrafted free agent at best. You had a 3rd round pick in Makai Blackman that you traded away for nothing, right? You had a 2nd round pick in Andrew Booth that you traded away for nothing. And I'm not saying these guys were going to actually be Pro Bowlers, but at the same time, Brian Flores never believed in these guys enough to throw them out there and actually get experience. Now we always sit here and we talk about, JJ McCarthy, where, hey, we just need him to start playing so we can kind of figure some things out. That's what I believe defense is. I remember when Xavier Rhodes was drafted, he was drafted, by the coaching staff, by Leslie Frazier, basically, right? And he was horrible. It seemed like either once or twice every game he had a pass interference. And if he didn't have a pass interference, he played like he was hurt, right? And Zimmer comes in here and he develops him and Trey Waynes into great corners. I just feel like Brian Flores doesn't have the patience to develop guys and be like, all right, cool, I got this next guy up. And I know people out there are going to be like, oh, what about Ivan Pace? I've always said Ivan Pace was trash. And the reason why I said Ivan Pace was trash is because I knew he was limited to what he was doing. He was making splash plays by basically just rushing the quarterback, doing the blitz, but he never was asked to do any kind of real linebacker duties. And when he had to go back and start doing real linebacker duties, he ended up getting benched. Like, so to answer your question, like, that was my thing. I just always felt like, why isn't he playing these guys? Why are we cutting these young guys on this roster to where we're going to have to replace them with older players and more expensive contracts, and we still don't know what these guys are? You get what I'm saying? Like, I just hate that, because I think players get ruined, by bad coaches a lot. Kevin O'Connell can say like, oh yeah, about the quarterback situation. I think we've ruined a lot of players, man. And the reason why some of these, our offense and defense is not excelling to where it need to be is because you got rid of guys that you shouldn't have developed. You got rid of Ed Ingram that wasn't really that bad. And what did you replace Ed Ingram with?
Defending Ed all last season, man. Yeah. That was like the only one I felt like at times.
I was man, I used to get, man, people used to bash me for that. But think about that though, bro. You replaced, he would have been in his 3rd or 4th season, a cost-effective contract, right? And you traded that away, and then you got expensive and you got worse. like that's what we have
as of right now. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, as of right now, that's what it looks like. Like you got worse. And if we talk about the defense, with the cornerbacks and the safeties, it's like, okay, Cam Bynum shouldn't have been re-signed. Yes, Metellus is not that great, but then you had to beg Harrison Smith to come back, and he can't play anymore. So now you have more money allocated, and he got worse. And this is what I go back to Lewis Cine, and I'm gonna be a Lewis Cine apologist forever. And I'm happy he got a Super Bowl because I think the kid can actually play. There was a game in the preseason where Brian Flores allowed Lewis Cine to just read and react, and he played well. He played phenomenal, right? You allowed Harrison Smith to be in this kid's development way. Like, you did that. You never said Harrison Smith is basically done. I need to start prepping this guy. You could never play Harrison Smith and Lewis Cine at the same time because they're basically two of the same type guys. I never felt Lewis Cine wasn't smart. I just felt you got guys playing out of position. I don't believe that Dallas Turner should be playing the outside. He should be rushing the quarterback from the inside. He needs to be the other inside linebacker. But Brian Flores wants him on the outside. Like, there's a lot of these things like I'm seeing, bro. And this team is old and expensive, fast. How you said that Kevin O'Connell accelerated his development by getting, all these wins early. They made this team old in one season, one off season, bro.
This is like that remnants of that mortgaging your future for your chances now. You know what I mean? And it doesn't make sense in hindsight when you have a rookie quarterback starting to mortgage your future because realistically, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
right? I don't think ever in NFL history a rookie has ever won the Super Bowl.
You know what I mean? One came close. One came close. That was Ben Roethlisberger. He came.
Oh yes, that's right, Ben. Yeah, and then he had immediate success in year 2. He won.
And then they won the next year.
Yeah, so, absolutely. But he was a unicorn though. At the same
time. But he wasn't the quarterback he was at the end of his career that he was at first.
No, but he started as a game manager and he slowly. I remember when Ben Roethlisberger, I was just starting to watch football. Then I'd be like, man, this guy sucks. He barely throws for 200 yards every freaking game, like 180, 197. Sometimes you see 211, 220, and I'm like, man, this guy freaking sucks. Why doesn't he throw the ball like I'm watching like Carson Palmer throw or Peyton Manning throw? And I'm like, because I had such a skewed view because I didn't know enough about I didn't have a football eye yet. I can honestly say I didn't then. So I was just like, what the hell? And then now when I look back at his career and I look at it with a different eye, I'm like, wow, like he did essentially followed the Brady path. You know what I mean? He became a game
Brady wasn't great either.
And then slowly developed the skill sets that he needed in order to play for as long as he did and to become the guy that he needed to be.
But look at what they had on those teams, right? Those Bill Cowher teams with Big Ben had a great defense and they had a good running game. Those teams that Brady was on had a great defense and a consistent running game, right? Like, it shows if you have that, you can give your rookie quarterback, your young quarterback time to develop. Because if you look at that, look at that defense in New England was crazy. Richard Seymour, Vincent Wilford, Rodney Harrison. You feel me? Like, they were nuts. So, and then those Pittsburgh teams, you had Willie Parker, you had Jerome Bettis before he retired. Like, you had guys, man, that could prop up, the young quarterback to where he didn't have to do so much. That's what the Vikings should have did, but they didn't.
On paper, it looked like that though. Going into the season before anything was played, on paper it looked like it. That's where I think a lot of people's expectations came from.
Yeah,
where it was like, oh, we can carry a rookie to the Super Bowl. Maybe we can get lucky, sort of thing. And I'm like, I remember thinking, we can maybe squeeze into the playoffs and lose one playoff game. And to me, it was like, that's a win because JJ will at least get to see playoff. Will have playoff. Like what it looks like, that different speed, the different pressure, the anxiety for getting ready to it, right? So then in year 2, he can take a real step. But yeah, it's hold on.
They went the wrong way, man.
Absolutely. And I just don't know. Like the thing is that like all these mistakes we could also be sitting here like a year from now or 2 years from now going into the season, and because we made these mistakes now, preseason or not in the off season, in the draft, we get the right players that fill in the right spots. We get all these. We avoid all these mistakes, and then in the playoffs we get injured. And because we've experienced this now, we know, oh man, okay, we have to make these adjustments quicker and do these things, right? So that's the optimist of me kind of speaking, because this is what I say. I can argue both sides. I can
Yeah.
take your side and go, yes, this is a complete failure. We keep making mistakes, and it's only going to get worse because we keep doubling down on the same mistakes over and over and over again. And then I go, but then I can also say, you know, the complete opposites in like I just said, meant like all these are the lessons that we need so that when the time comes, we've gotten all that experience out of the way. And because of that, we don't mess up then. But right now, it's too early in the season to really know until the end, right? So
We gotta play it out. We gotta.
I just realized I missed so many freaking chats because you
Hey,
made such great points and I was going with them.
hey,
And
look at this. Look at this, bro. I just saw this on my Twitter feed.
what's up?
Garrett Bradbury is the third highest graded center in pass pro in the NFL this season. 0 penalties and 0 sacks allowed.
I did look into both Ingram, and Ingram is a highly rated guard, but where Bradbury is good on one side, he's bad at run stopping.
He's always been that.
So I think he's in like the low teens for overall centers, which is better than what we got. You know what I mean?
He's actually playing, and he was less expensive than Ryan Kelly. That's what I'm saying, bro. It's like,
and you know what? Last year, everybody was complaining about re-signing Garrett Bradbury, and I kept saying, guys,
keep him.
If you look at the last year, a lot of the criticism was you're too small, blah blah blah. And then I said he did all the right things for this team. He went and put on like 40, 50 pounds, and he did the things that earned him the next contract. So I was like, let him freaking play and see what happens.
See what happens.
Because he's earned that, right? And now we're not reaping the benefits of all that work that he did because we gave up on him too soon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's that same recurring mistake where it's like, you guys, you got the thing is what chaps me about everything that we talked about is that we commit like 4 years ago to start and build the right way. We get ourselves an offensive coach, we get a good defensive coordinator in year 2, we get generational talents, and then we trade up to get a lottery pick quarterback. It seems like we finally made the turn, and we're going to commit to this strategy now. And then we make the same freaking mistakes. You know, we've mortgaged our future. It's like, wait. When you're trying to build a freaking, you know, through the draft and become the team the long way, you can't make these mistakes. You know what I mean? So it's like the old habits are kind of rearing their head still, which, you know what I mean? Like some of them, those mistakes, I guess, had to be made last couple years, right? Bringing in Van Ginkel, bringing in Blake Cashman because of the situation that we're in. So it kind of made sense then. But like you said, the Kirk Cousins contract was holding them back from truly making the mistakes that they made this year.
Yeah.
But like
it was keeping them in check.
When you think about it, do you want to teach someone to fish or do you want to just give them a bunch of fish?
You got to teach them to fish, because if you give a bunch of fish, they're going to always keep asking for you.
So Kirk Cousins the fish in this situation.
But I believe it. But I believe in this one. I'm trying to think about you can't feed a hungry dog.
True. Yes. But but the point that I'm also making is
that same hungry dog is going to eat you alive.
Yeah. But to get that dog to be where it's at, there's a lot of other mistakes that you got to get to before, you know what I mean, you face that hungry dog, right?
Yeah.
But my point is that
I think the hungry dog isn't. I think the hungry dog analogy isn't the players. I think the hungry dog is Kevin O'Connell.
Could very well be. And like in my analogy, Kirk Cousins is the fish.
Yeah.
Because we didn't choose then to be like, you know what? Let's trade up, let's do whatever we can, and let's build the right way.
You're gonna get knowledge when we get on here, man.
No, what we did is we went with Kirk. You know, it's like they decide we're gonna freaking try to build a long-term freaking team and do it the right way, but their old habits get the better of them, and then they get the fish, which totally prevents them from making the mistakes that we've made this year, and now we're suffering because of those. And it's like, this better be a freaking wake-up call to you guys to be like, hey, this next year or whatever you got to do between now and then, you better start looking at freaking your scouting crew and being like, you guys need to freaking step up your game. You guys need to go out and clean house and be sellers at the trade deadline and try to bring in some picks and potentially identify, do we move on from Jordan Addison? You know, do we move on from certain guys to be able to get the picks in order to get back on track in, like, I'm not saying that's just an example. I don't know. We can debate who that player could be, but what I'm saying is someone that's valuable enough to get good trade assets for, or like good draft assets for.
Let me ask you this though, and I want you to be completely honest with you right now. I just wanted to do the first thing.
I need to get caught up with this freaking chat. Yeah. I feel so bad. I'm so sorry, guys. And once we get this next point out, we'll go through the chat because everybody's been typing, and I'm so sorry. That's my bad.
So we always throw the analogy of them getting draft picks. Do you believe that they can actually play those draft picks and develop them?
The thing is that unless we give them the opportunity to do it and then make mistakes during that, they're not going to learn how to do it.
I don't know how to do it. Okay, let's get to the chat.
Right? So, like, it's one of those things. It's like, man, it's frustrating because we make so many good decisions when it comes to building the right way. So, for example, we move on from Sam. Right? I don't care what anybody says. Moving on from Sam is the right move because when we get to the playoffs this year, he might win a playoff game against a flawed team if he's a wild card team, because most likely they're going to come in as a wild card team. So they might be able to beat another flawed wild card team. But when they face the real competition of the top echelon of the league, they're going to get smoked because Sam cannot play under pressure. His confidence is that bad that it's going to take multiple attempts at the playoffs before he gets right to where we can go, okay, he's no longer seeing ghosts. He's got enough confidence to push him through bad situations, and he's not going to totally collapse anymore. It's a possibility, but he's more on the opposite side of that storyline now, where he can elevate and be the reason we win. Where I think this year and next year, he's going to be the reason they lose, you know, especially against a team that's going to be able to put it on them hard, just like the Rams did, right? Just how the Lions did last year, right? Once he faces a team like that can really put it to him, that's where we're going to see what he's made of. And I think has taken a small step forward this year, will take a small step forward this year, and then a bigger step next year. And then going forward, that's when we're going to be like, Sam is actually a guy that can win in the postseason, because I don't think he's there yet. And then for us to say, oh, we should have kept Sam, if we had picked him up in your situation where we picked him up for 2 years and it was going to be cheap for us.
Yeah,
that makes sense. But
yeah, I'm not saying after the 14-win season. I'm saying before that even happened.
I'm saying in that situation, yes, if that would have happened. But the way that it's going to go down, what happens if we do keep him and then he gets blown up in the playoffs again? How mad? Like I was mad that he melted down in the last season. How much more mad would you be this year if he melted down in the postseason? If we had Sam, right? It would be like, why did we waste another freaking year to get the exact same result? Why have we not learned anything? Right? So, you know what I mean? And then we did everything to get to the point where we got on a rookie scale quarterback. And then you go and mortgage the future to freaking to go back to old mistakes, you know, and you're right. that freaking the fish in freaking in Kirk Cousins prevented them from making these mistakes.
And
right?
This is why
so they didn't learn how to fish.
Yeah.
Now they're learning how to fish, and they freaking suck, bro. Like, I feel like I could go fishing better than this team can right now. But just to kind of go back on the points, let's get back on the
go to the
chat. All right, let's go back here because we've got a bunch of people that have joined. T-Bass, Scola, holy crap, it's been a whole bunch. So April was the last one. So Mav Henry says, in your opinion, do you think we should have hired Harbaugh?
No.
You want to take that one first?
No. I think Harbaugh was great on paper, but I just think about Harbaugh's like shelf life. Like Harbaugh, he could have did good here, but I don't think he would have had longevity, outside of 3-4 seasons. And I understand like what Harbaugh is and what he's doing now. Like it's great, but we gotta just always think about it like it's hindsight 2020. Like
he's got a finite window, right? Because what we've seen in college, what we've seen with the 49ers, if he doesn't break through, he doesn't do it. And then he has to bail and go somewhere else. And he's got that 3-4 year. And if he doesn't do it, he moves on. So that's a good thing.
He seems to have issues with management a lot when he doesn't really get what he wants or be able to do
he's old school.
Yeah, he's old school. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad coach. Like, good for San Diego. Like, good for them. And sorry, guys, I know they don't play in San Diego anymore, but I think they will always be the San Diego Chargers with us. So he's good with San Diego. So I mean, it's good, but I'm just not. I just think like I'm gonna throw a PSA for Viking fans. We gotta always stop looking at it like,
revisionist history.
Yeah, revisionist history. Like it's not that. Like I think the right move was Kevin O'Connell. It's just that Kevin O'Connell has adversity now that he needs to get over, and we need to be on the front step to actually see what he's gonna do.
Absolutely. I'm going to take a different side. I'm going to say that, well, first I'm going to preface it by saying I'm old school. So that's the type of coach that I would respond to. So I was all for the Jim Harbaugh signing. But when I look at the snapshot of that time, right, our team was freaking done with that type of leader.
Yeah.
Zimmer was that guy as well. Yeah. And so if he had already lost the locker room with that style, and then we brought a Mike Zimmer 2.0, not because of the talent or their skill set, but in the same leadership, in the same way that he deals with players, we wouldn't have regained our locker room until he was gone, potentially, right? We might have had to completely clean house so that all those guys that just have that bad taste in their mouth were completely gone, and we'd have to start 1,000% from scratch.
Over again.
So what do we get? We might have been further behind than where we are now, right? So I don't think it's if I was just to say my own way of liking coaches and what I would have responded to, I wanted Harbaugh. But when I look at it in what the team was actually experiencing at the time, it was a bad decision to hire him. So I'm happy that we moved on to an offensive-minded coach because they were done with that. The defensive-minded coach, that hard ass, that MJ era type leader, was not our players weren't responding then. So we would have gone really low at that point, right? But we will never know, right? So just to answer your answer, Mav, Six have been talking. We were talking about he wants to make sure that if we do fire someone, it's going to be the GM, and then he hopes to bring Louis Riddick in. I get it. Louis Riddick, he's a heck of a freaking football mind and whatnot, right? So, and player. Let's see here. Mav also says if someone gets hurt, we are cooked either way. That's the situation that we're in because we've mortgaged our future for it, right?
You have no development behind these other players.
Skolaholic says Kwesi and overrated KOC is finally getting exposed. He also said we ain't winning anything this year. KOC play calling sucks. Essentially, and the Minnesota media is too soft. I can't disagree with your opinion, my friend. And then we have no talent on defense because our GM can't draft. And I think we've also touched base a little bit on some of the conversations that might have kind of semi answered, because we were talking about, you know, teaching someone to fish versus giving them a fish. And, you know, if he doesn't draft players and he continues to sign free agent and make the team expensive, we're not only making the cardinal mistake of mortgaging our future, but he's not getting the tangible experience in drafting players to know the next year how to draft better and the next year to draft better. So it kind of is like this kind of like snowball effect, right? So that is just a whole bunch of mistakes. Brady, Wentz is horrible. I've been saying that since the beginning, but he's a great QB too. That's about it.
16 in 6 years for a reason.
Exactly. Me and you were the ones that were saying, like, why would we freaking roll with Carson Wentz 16?
People were saying that, like, oh, if he gives us the best option, no,
he doesn't.
The reason why he's available.
And then T-Bass says this team is far from championship caliber, but that's his opinion. I don't think that we're even going into the season. I think that we were championship caliber. But what I would say is that this year, depending on what we learn and how we respond, will be the beginnings of developing championship caliber. Because I think the championship caliber takes years to develop, and then most of it comes from the playoff experiences that you get. So we don't have that. So I wouldn't say that we have championship caliber in the slightest yet, but I'm hopeful that we will in the future. T-Bass says first huge mistake they made, hiring a rookie head coach and a rookie GM. That never happens.
It does happen because the Philadelphia Eagles did that with Howie Roseman and Doug Peterson, and they won the Super Bowl.
There you go.
And then Howie fired Doug and hired the current coach right now and went back to 2 Super Bowls. So.
And then he also said, rebuild, move on very soon. And, you know, it's easy to say right now because we don't have the full scope, right? If, like I say, at the end of the year, it is as bad as it was last week or last night, and it continues to look that bad, yes, absolutely. I feel like that's the only option at that point. We have to do some drastic changes in order to right the ship. But until those full 16 games go, I just can't say that just yet. But what I do want them to do is I want them to be moving on from some players and trying to pick up draft picks for sure, so that we have something to look forward to going forward. Because if we don't do that, we're just making the same mistake over and over again.
Yes, keep it moving in the chat.
And then absolutely no foundation you build through your offense and defensive lines. And we try to do that. We just totally swung and missed. Mark, last night's game down, it may be the game that Kevin O'Connell lost the locker room. Maybe not. It might just be
gonna see what happens in the next couple of games.
Yeah, like at the very end of the season, they might be stronger because of it. We have no idea. So could very well be, but it could also be the game that turned things around when it came to their approach to facing this adversity, right? Mike, talking that talk, we try, brother. We try. T-Bass says, I have a question for both of you. Name Kevin O'Connell's signature win. I see that you answered it here. I think there's some candidates for that. Because there was some wins in his first year where.
But how would they?
Pardon?
How would they follow? I thought about it too, because I know what games you're going to say. The Buffalo win was great.
The Bills game.
The Indianapolis comeback game was great, but I can't give it a signature win because they followed it with dud the next week.
Yeah, but it like, to me, wait, how do you define a signature win then? Because I'm thinking it's like
a signature win. It's the start of the boulder. It's the start of the rock going down down. It builds the momentum. You can't have a big win and then the next week you have a no-show. That means that win it wasn't a big win. You just got lucky, basically. You know, like that's just how I look at it. He hasn't had the point to where he has a big win and followed it with the consistency. Like I think the Buffalo Bills game, that game was great. That was one of the best games I ever seen in football, right?
That was a great game.
And then I think we lose like 40-something to like 3 against Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
we haven't learned how to deal with the emotional roller coaster after a crazy high or emotion filled win. We even before KOC, right? With the Minneapolis Miracle game, we came out flat the next week, right? So it's just something that you have to learn so that you can develop championship pedigree, right?
Yeah,
For me, the way that I look at a signature win is more maybe I just have the wrong definition. Is maybe I'm looking at it. It's like a game that kind of highlights your highest potential, like what you could be once it all comes together, right? So I'm thinking the Indianapolis game, the Bills game, and then there were a handful of games last year where, like I said, there were so many games that were like playoff like situations where you only see that stuff happen in the comeback win in the playoffs, right? And where either both teams did really, really well, and we ended up just being able to do all the right things at the right times to win, or we crap the bed like the Patriots against the Falcons, and then we turn it around and actually complete the comeback, right? So there's things, but I think that my definition doesn't align with what I think you guys mean. So
yeah,
if we go with that,
yeah,
I don't know if we do,
yeah,
but
he ain't had one. That's my thing. Like, he ain't had
I
one.
don't know. Maybe the Giants game, because everybody going into the season was like, we're gonna win one game.
With
You
the
know what I
Giants
mean? So, the first game of the season.
Yeah,
In that regard, in the way that you guys say it.
I think they followed it with and then they beat Frisco the next week. So
exactly.
I mean, it's
so maybe this. See, that's what I'm saying. So like it was like, or the Frisco game might even be the game. So like I don't know, like because I had a different perspective of what a signature win game is, but yeah, I think so. So signature game means the game that kind of proved that you turned the corner. Then
yeah, but that's my thing. Like, you didn't turn the corner because you lost the next week.
Yeah, that's why I say the Giants game, because then we went on a 5-game winning streak, right?
Yeah,
when
that's true.
A lot of people thought we would start 0-5.
Yeah, I'd give that, but I wouldn't even say that's a signature win because the Giants were not good. That was the team you played against the playoffs the prior year, and you wanted to get some get back, and I can't count that.
Then that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's the 49ers game, because it was like that was just a thing because we ended up having a great start.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We didn't totally turn the corner, so then technically no, but we've had a lot of like flashes of what KOC can become, which is just like, this is why I say he's freaking speed running what most coaches learn in 10 years. He's trying to learn it in freaking 3 or 4, right? So I don't know going forward, but maybe not. T-Bass says, I've been watching football long enough. I know a donkey when I see one.
Okay.
Maybe so, but I've also been watching football and just sports in general when I've seen teams be at this low point and then turn around and become the thing that nobody expected to, right? So two things can be true, and it could be, either opinion could be proven right over the next 10 games or maybe a couple seasons, right? So the jury is still out, but I respect the opinion. This is from when we were talking about, we were hardly upset because he didn't think the team was gonna be like that. Let's see here. That's for sure. It's kind of hard to tell because what we were talking about at the time.
And Kobe King just got picked up by the New York Jets. So that's another draft pick we just lost that couldn't get on the field under Brian Flores. I'm telling you, I had this conversation.
Most of these free agent signings were players on the team that currently on didn't want.
Yeah, they were cut.
Or didn't want. Okay. They were on the team that they were currently on, or the team didn't want them. I get what you're saying.
They were cut.
And then as a Chicago Cubs fan, this is the same crap that I went through with them when the Tribune company owned all of them. All they look is profit. Winning is the afterthought. Hey, I can actually talk to that because I grew up a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and that is definitely what it was like when the teachers union owned them, because they only cared that they're like, hey, well, we sell out every game even if we lose, so they never cared to build a team.
The The teachers union owned them.
Yeah, the teachers union used to own the Maple Leafs, and they were like the majority stakeholder. And I'm pretty sure that we've moved on from them, but that's why we always used to bring these old washed up guys that used to be big names, because they would fill seats and all they cared was selling tickets and merchandise rather than actually winning. And now, and then it was so bad. T-Bass, are you still a Cubs fan? Because I gave up on hockey in general because of that. I gave up on the Maple Leafs, and then because I had witnessed Jonathan Taves in the World Juniors and in the Olympics and stuff, just doing amazing, I was like, I became a Chicago Blackhawks fan for like 1 or 2 seasons. And then when they won their cup, I kind of was like, oh, I'm done with hockey. And then around the same time that I got into football, I just said goodbye to hockey. And I said, the Maple Leafs literally destroyed my love for hockey because of that fact.
I don't think the Vikings are that. I don't think the Vikings are that.
No, I don't think we're that, but I think we're a team that continues to try to find ways to win, and the fact that they tried different things instead of the same thing over and over just kind of shows, right?
Yeah, just keep it moving in the chat because I gotta get off soon.
All right, let's go down. Cause man, we got a lot. Oh, Zoe's in the building. What up, Zoe?
Angry man Zoe.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Clark says KOC and B-Flow gotta figure it out. Absolutely.
That, yeah.
And these come on, because we were just talking about, I think Buffalo Bills was pure luck, and how many times do they fumble on a kneel down?
Yeah.
Sometimes luck has to play a factor, you know, like if you look at that Super Bowl win for the Patriots, right? Matt Ryan had to be as garbage as he is for him to make the mistakes for them to keep him in the shot, right? Luck is always a factor in any game, but absolutely. And then Zoe says, man, this team is soft. KOC did his job. We need a head coach job. We need a new head coach to finish the job he can't do and won't. So, yeah, you know, I can't be upset with anybody because, like I said multiple times, I can't not see, like, whichever side that you're on, it's plausible.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not going to be like, no, I can't. This is the first time of the season where I can't say, guys, relax. There's still, you know, like, because I can go now there's too much for me to ignore. So where, like, I can understand both sides equally, but my background is like, I have to just wait for the full sample size to get a real assessment. Like I kept telling people that asked me every single time we did a live stream or every single time I did a video, oh, what do you think of Sam Darnold? Is he fixed? Is he this? And I'm like, I don't know, because the full season hasn't happened. What I suspected is that he elevated his floor, but his ceiling is still the same, and that he's still flawed with his confidence when it really counts.
Yo, so
that's what happened. So I was like, oh, okay, so he is what he is, you know. But I think we're 2 hours just talking because of what you got, like,
later too. So I got some shit. He just asked
absolutely. I'm still fasting, so I haven't eaten anything.
Oh, how long?
I till 6. So last night around 8 o'clock.
So okay,
I try to fast every single day, minimum 4 o'clock or like 3:30, like right before my first live of the day, if I get home early enough from work. But it's just because it's my way of portion control, because I have a problem with portion sizes. So it's the only way that I can maintain eating 2,000 calories or less without overeating.
So, I think like I've tried like multiple, like, sorry guys, you're getting healthy.
Yeah, we're talking about weight loss now.
like I've actually tried like multiple, you know, diets and stuff like that, and I just really believe, like, man, at the end of the day, like when you fast, especially like a 16-8, I know some people do do longer, you know, but it's really beneficial, man, because it's like you allow your body to kind of repair itself, and you kind of get everything out of there. And especially like you said with the portion control, like, you know, like when you eat, you know, your first meal, it has to be the right meal. Like it has to be
Mhm.
protein. It shouldn't be too many carbs. It should be, some good vegetables that can give you some kind of nutrients. And then when you cut it, you have that window to cut it off. And like when you sleep and everything like that, like your body's still working, man. Like I just tell everybody out there, like some of these weight loss fasts of doing like that, like if you really like dig that deep dive into the science, like a fast is something that really, really works. And I just really like, I know, like, in this day and age in America, whatever, everything is accessible all the time to you, like you get fruits that's out of season anytime, so it's kind of like you have to find a way to kind of like limit yourself. And like the fast is like, it's the best way to do it, man. I lost a lot of weight and gained, the muscle back and got rid of the bulges, man, just by something that simple.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I freaking like I'm actually in the midst of writing because I have another channel, right, where it's just going to be kind of like talking about any other things, and I want to kind of just drop all the knowledge that I've learned over the years,
Yeah.
so that other people can benefit it. Because I'm not gonna become a personal trainer anytime soon. You know what I mean? I'm moving on to a next stage of my life, right? So I'm building a small business and then working on my channels, just because I want to have that. It's fun,
Yeah.
and I want to have that
You wanna
presence.
get it into the people that need it.
Absolutely. So when uh before Skullfest, right, I was 300 pounds at the end of July,
Yeah.
and that was the biggest that I've ever been. And I usually, when I was a trainer, I was in, depending on if I was in a cut or on a bulk, I would be anywhere between like 195 to like 225,
Right.
right? And I was, lifting the heaviest, doing the hardest workouts, power lifting, Olympic lifting, CrossFit. Like I was literally doing everything, right?
Everything.
I used to do the NFL bench combine test as one of the things that I would do every season,
Mhm.
and 19 is the best I've ever done. Not great, but good for an amateur. But anyways, um, what I did was I did intermittent fasting, because another thing that's really difficult is to judge calories. Even if you control portion sizes, you might think that that's a 500 calorie meal,
It
but
might
it's
not.
actually a
Yeah.
thousand.
Right.
And then you make three meals like that, thinking that, this is about 2,000 calories, but you've actually ate like 3,200. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then all of a sudden you're over your calorie for the day that you've burned, right? So then
Yeah.
you're gaining weight, right? So it's
Yeah.
super, super difficult for you to lose that weight. So what I did was, like, intermittent fasting is good, because even if you underestimate and you eat more calories than you think you're eating,
Got
you
it
still
all.
can't overeat.
Yeah.
And then another reason too is, if you go for these like fad diets or these super strict diets,
You'll do something with it.
willpower can
Yeah.
get you so far, and then eventually it's just too hard to follow, and you're going to end up quitting. And then as soon as you quit that diet, you go back
Everything.
to your
Yeah.
old ways, and then more,
More.
because you're just like, oh, I just want to eat everything. And then you go
Yeah,
from
man.
before, where you would eat a medium pizza like to yourself, and now you're eating a
And
large pizza
large.
to yourself.
Yeah. With
And
more toppings on it.
exactly. And you're just like, it just becomes a thing that it kind of hurts you. And I found that fasting, you get used to being hungry, and you can kind of push it, because you're like, like at first I was a very strict 8-hour eating window and 16-hour fast,
Yep.
and then I would stick to that religiously. But now that I've been doing it for August, September, almost 3 months now, I'm at the point where I break my fast depending on what I feel like, because of the workouts that I'm about to do.
Right.
Because I lost 40 pounds in 6 weeks. I went from 300 to 260, and all I did was intermittent fast. I ate the exact same foods, but instead of ordering McDonald's for a burger, I made my burgers from scratch. So I bought the ground beef, the buns, the toppings, and although it's still not great for you, it's better than fast food.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so then after that, and then I would do every single morning, I would play Beat Saber for a half an hour. So it's a virtual reality game where you're just slicing
yeah.
notes or whatever.
So
And then I made myself basically dance because you do it to like popular music. So it's just fun beats. So I made myself dance and be in an athletic position with my knees bent, and I would just play. And I would be freaking drenched in sweat. And I did no weight training. I didn't have to do any like walking. Like it's a lot of when you get to the extreme weight loss stuff, they say you need to walk 10,000 steps a day. You need to eat 6 meals, and they have to be, a third rice and freaking, all these crazy things. And when you look at it, and then you got to train an hour in the morning, and then you got to train an hour in the evening, and then you got to make sure that you have, at least, all these things. And do you have freaking 6 hours a day to contribute to that? Because it becomes a lot. And so I said, I have the experience. When I worked as a personal trainer, I went 2 years straight where only my clients won the weight loss challenge at the club. And to the point where at first, other trainers would try to beat my clients. And then they tried a couple times and they realized that they just couldn't do what I did, and they just stopped, and that basically just let me have it every time. So I was like, I have the knowledge, I know how to lose weight. So this time I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to maximize my weight loss at every tactic that I make. So that's why I said, I'm not going to do any exercise. I'm not going to do any steps. I'm just going to I'm going to lose weight through diet change and good habits, and switching from fast food, restaurant food, and literally making anything from scratch.
Yeah.
So if I wanted a pizza, I bought pizza dough, I bought the toppings, and I made it. You know what I mean? And for anything that I wanted, I learned how to make smash burgers. I can make lasagna from scratch, spaghetti and meatballs from scratch. Literally all the things that I was eating from fast food, I basically learned how to make. I learned how to bread my own mozzarella sticks. I learned how to make freaking stuffed crust pizza. I literally learned how to cook. And then the cool thing about that process is that after you do that, you learn how to cook. And now when you go, maybe you start getting to the stage where you're like, I want to try harder.
Yeah.
You already know how to cook. So now you can start making these healthy foods and know how to make it delicious.
Diet.
Exactly. And then you start now where I'm at now, where I eat mostly chicken, and I kind of go through, like, sometimes I'll make my own shawarma, or I'll make my own like chicken and rice, or I'll make my own versions of things. So where they're as delicious because of now I know how to season things. You know what I mean? Like, unlike before where I would just let the restaurant do it, and now I choose the ingredients that I use. Therefore, there's less calories in the food that I make. And then that's how I was able to lose 40 pounds. And then I allowed myself 30 days. I restarted well, not really 30 days, like 2.5, 3 weeks from the end of Skullfest to October, where I just allowed myself to just maintain.
Yeah.
And I let body composition, because you can't go, I'm going to do this all and just go, because you will run out of willpower and you will give up. So I said, I'm just giving I'm going to give myself 30 days where I'm not going to let myself gain any weight, but I'm not going to focus on weight loss either. And I'm going to allow myself to eat. If I decide I want to order a pizza, I'm going to order a pizza. And then so I did that for the last part of September. I wouldn't eat the whole pizza now, because now I was conscious of it. I was like, I'd only eat like 1 or 2 slices. You know what I mean? Unlike before, because I know that 2 slices is 1,000 calories for the most part, right? So it just changed my philosophy. And then I was choosing the healthier food more times than not. And every single time I got a craving for a Nashville hot chicken sandwich, I'd go over to my favorite spot and get myself a freaking nice Nashville hot chicken sandwich with a freaking side of fries. You know what I mean? And then that would be the only thing that I ate that day. And then I was like, I'm not gaining weight. I was like, this is freaking awesome. And so now I'm back at it. And now I'm doing this next stage where I've lost 10 pounds now in 24 days, which isn't the best, but I'm doing 3 workouts a week, or 3 to 4, and it's only 30 minutes max. And I'm doing literally none of the weight loss training techniques that I used to use. I'm not doing any steps or anything like that. But what I'm doing is I'm choosing to do 2 exercises. I do bench press, and then I do squats, because the way that I do bench press and that the weights that I do, it like when I'll give you this, when you do like curls or bodybuilding style workouts where it's like 10, 12, 15 reps or whatever, you don't burn the calories that you would if you're doing heavy lifting. The reason being is because you use two different energy sources when you do both different types of exercises.
Right.
So I learned that when you exert heavy, when you exert hard and you put that kind of stress on your body, you use a different energy system where it just floods your system with energy, right? So that you have more than enough to do what you're trying to do. So when you do full body exercises, so my 4 exercises right now are bench press, and then squats, and then deadlifts, and then pull-ups, right? Because you're using a full body exercise, so that means you're getting everything is working. And if you go heavy enough, it has to be heavy enough. So I'm doing moderate to heavy so that I'm tapping into that energy. So then I'm basically just dumping calories when I do a heavy lift.
Not like you over there just
no, I don't do, I do 30 minutes and I do like minute to a minute and a half rest. I have headphones in, I don't talk to anybody, and I literally do my set, and I do warm-up sets for bench because I have to do a little bit more volume because it's not the same as a real total body exercise. So I do like 3 sets of 10, and then I go to 5 rep range, and then I go heavy so that I'm getting that exertion to where I'm dumping calories just to move the weight. Right. And then I move to squats, and then I go to 185, 225, 245, and then I squat 5 sets of 5. And I can barely get that amount of volume in 30 minutes. And then I leave. And I don't do any of the weight loss techniques or any of the stuff that I'm going to put myself through in December, which I'm kind of dreading because I'm going to freaking go hard. But my plan is to lose 100 pounds in the second half of the season. I'm already down 50. So I think I can get the next 50 down once I start using the crazy techniques that I know. You know what I mean?
Messing around with this team, man, you get depressed.
I don't, man. I definitely don't.
Here, man, I gotta get ready for Zoe. And
absolutely, yeah, because they're gonna get their 45 minutes before they. Sorry, guys, we went on a total weight loss tangent. I guess some people stayed because they wanted to learn something because we got like 15, 16 people in here still. Yeah. I thought it was gonna drop to like 2, but
stay on for a little bit because I want to ask you something about the live too, though. Because I gotta give you.
Absolutely. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you guys listening to our rants. We try to be as real as possible and not, I definitely I hope I did a good job of not letting my optimism take over because I was trying to give you guys a real take. Again, thank you so much, D Woods. Skull State of Mind. If you guys haven't, go to Skull State of Mind and subscribe to his channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel too. I am on the road to 500 subscribers. I'm trying to be there for the end of the calendar year. So with your support and your help, it will really help. And don't forget to like both videos too. So D Woods, any last thoughts?
No.
There you go. I think we did really, really good, guys.
I said that already. Yeah.
All right, boys. All right. We'll catch you guys later. Keep on sculling, guys. Hopefully the best is yet to come. There's my optimism. Okay. The best is yet to come. Yeah. 2025, Minnesota Vikings Forged in Fire. There we go. A bit of positivity at the end.
That's a great series, Forged in Fire. I watch that all the time.
Absolutely, man. Man, I think we have some good taste in TV shows too, but I hope you guys have a great one. I love every single one of you guys. Yeah. Yes.
It's hilarious.
Oh man, we could go on another tangent. Bye, guys. I love every single one of you guys, regardless of what team you guys follow. Absolutely, guys. Take care.